whenever there is an opportunity comes, normally I used to give sessions on labor codes, HR analytics, labor laws, industrial relations, POSH Act, in various forums like Symbiosis Pune and CIA, CSI, CSA, um, Company Secretaries of India Limited, GHRD, AHRC, various professional forums. So this is little brief about me. So I did MHRM, Master of Human Resource Management and Bachelor of Law. The laws related to wages as per the labor law, normally first one is Minimum Wages Act. Normally it is Minimum Wages Act, Payment of Wages Act, Equal Remuneration Act. These two are as well related to wages related labor legislation. And now you know the code on wages. Government of India is enacting 29 labor codes subsuming into 29 labor laws, subsuming into 4 codes. After that, one is code on wages. So once the code on wages comes into effective implementation part, all the erstwhile 29 labor laws will be subsumed, and on these 3 wages related acts will be subsumed to code on wages. So this one till the code on, because code on wages, you many people of you know that Gazette notification also released about code on wages, and only date of implementation is awaiting from the central government. Once it comes into effect, the erstwhile minimum wage, payment of wage, equal remuneration, all will be subsumed. And so that's the reason code on wages there any time it may come into effect till this governmental comes next time, or at least because all the different various states have released the rules also, because code on wages, these 4 labor codes was enacted by central government and parliament, as well as the presidential consent also released and gazette notification also released, only waiting for the date of implementation. So when it comes to Minimum Wages Act, so Minimum Wages Act, each state, normally government of each state, central government and state government will fix the minimum wages for various employment, various industries, categories of employment. So normally the minimum wage consisting of whatever the minimum wage consisting of basic and DA. Majority, if you see in the various states minimum wages acts, minimum wage means basic and dearness allowance. These 2 components consisting of minimum wage. So the central government and state governments, the basic and DA will be the minimum wage. So normally the dearness allowance will vary in state to state. In some states it will be once in 6 months. In some states it will be once in a year. And it depends on state to state. The dearness allowance will be increased. Consumer price index points they will announce. Government will announce the consumer price index points. Basing on that, the DA to be recalculated, and finally minimum wage consisting of basic and DA. If you see the minimum wage, unskilled, semi-skilled, skilled, highly skilled, there are 4 categories. Broadly, if you see, there are 4 categories of minimum wages. One is unskilled, semi-skilled, skilled, highly skilled. Even in the manager, depends on the category of employment, there will be some designations. And we need to see from the designation point of view and the nature of work point of view, the experience skill required, we need to see where they will fit into the semi-skilled, highly skilled, or unskilled category. So there is the minimum wage, unskilled, there is no company, and as per the Indian statutes and labor laws, all the companies have to pay at least bare minimum wage for unskilled, semi-skilled and skilled category. And it is not expected that any company has to pay below the minimum wages to their employees. This is out of the expectations of the Minimum Wages Act. And recent, if you see the recent Supreme Court judgments in the G4S security, there is no need to pay provident fund on the minimum wage. Earlier, it was a notion that the PF authorities also insisting us to pay provident fund contribution on the minimum wages. But there are category of judgments, and very recent Supreme Court judgment from the G4S Security Services case, it was clearly stated there is no need to pay PF on minimum wages. Okay, this is one point. And ensure the contract. Suppose if you are engaging a contract labor, please ensure the contractor is also paying minimum wages to their contract labor, and timely remittance of PF and ESI. These are very important. Okay, fine. Yeah, this minimum wages, suppose if you see in the Andhra and Telangana, we have close to 67 categories of employment. Like that, you need to see your state level, statewide minimum wages act and how many categories of employment they have given under the minimum wages. Suppose in Andhra, if any categories of employment is not given, any other category they were there. So minimum wage broadly consisting of basic and DA, again just for the benefit of all, I am just saying. So minimum wage broadly consists of basic and DA. Dearness allowance will vary based on the consumer price index numbers announced by the central and state governments. In some of the states, it will be half yearly. In some of the states, the CPI points will announce annually. So now when it comes to payout, depends on the skill, experience, and education. We need to bifurcate into unskilled, semi-skilled, skilled, and highly skilled. These definitions will be clearly given in the respective state minimum wages act. What will be the unskilled means? Suppose housekeeping level doesn't require any basic qualification and experience, so we can consider unskilled. Like that, we need to see they will be clearly defined in that. So companies are supposed to mandatory to pay the minimum wages to their employees. And another the point is that provident fund. Earlier, it was a notion that minimum wage to be paid, provident fund to be paid on minimum wages. Now, with the latest Supreme Court judgments and the G4S security services, so it is not required to pay minimum wage, PF contributions on minimum wages. And at the same time, ensure that contract labor, suppose if you are engaging a contract labor, please ensure the contractor is paying minimum wages, the timely remittance of PF and ESI. So next, when it comes to the next act, it will be payment of wages act, which is the important one. The payment of wages act is the objective is to regulate the payment of wages to certain classes of employed persons. So this payment of wages is applicable to the wages drawing a monthly salary of 24,000 per month. 24,000 per month. Those who are drawing up to 24,000 per month will be covered under the Payment of Wages Act. Here, the fixation of wage period that was there, daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly. Please note that no wage period should exceed more than a month. So, suppose if you are engaging daily labor, you need to pay daily, weekly, fortnightly. Depends on the company and the nature of employment, the category of employment, people, casual labor, contract labor, or else fixed term. Different categories of employment is there. So monthly is the maximum we need to pay. The time for payment of wages, if the company is engaging less than 1,000 employees, the salary to be paid on or before 7th of the subsequent month, the wages to be paid if the employee strength is less than 1,000 on or before 7th, if it's 1,000 or more, it is on or before 10th. And the other deductions also they are clearly given in the section 6 of the Payment of Wages Act. And the terminated employee, the wages earned by him to be paid before the expiry of second working day. As per the Act, it is very clear that the settlements, full and final settlement, means not a fund of a gratuity, not a gratuity act allows us to do it within 30 days, like that, but the unpaid wages to be settled on or before the second working day. So once the employee is terminated from the services, and wages to be paid check or bank account. Now, even for the contract labor, labor departments are insisting us to pay through bank account only. Even in spite of all even the employees, all are majority companies, almost the departments, the government department is mandating us to pay the wages through bank account only. So other is the deductions I told you. Other deductions, there is a cap in the other deductions amounts. 75% of in case of cooperative society and insurance schemes. Suppose if the company has a cooperative society and employees are allowed to take the groceries and thousands from the cooperative societies, and those groceries charges they are collecting from the salary, then it is allowed up to 75% of the deductions. Rest, if the no cooperative society is there, 50% is only the maximum of the deductions. These are very clearly specifically given in the Payment of Wages Act. So whatever deductions, PF, ESA, union contributions are cooperative society, any others, whatever this is about a life insurance scheme, salary saving scheme. If the company has given the option of salary saving scheme under the life insurance premium to be paid by the company, then that is authorized. And whatever it is, 75% is the maximum deduction to be done from the employee's salary if the company has cooperative society and insurance scheme. Otherwise, it will be 50%. Remuneration Act. The Equal Remuneration Act clearly says it is preventing the discrimination of payment in under sex, male and female. So they have the duty of an employer to pay equal remuneration to men and women for the same work or work of a similar nature. If both genders, if male and female people are working in the same nature of work, then there is no distinction of wages to be paid. Here, same work or similar nature of work is very important clause, means work in respect of which the skill, effort and responsibility requires are the same. Suppose the skill, effort and responsibility are same for male and female, then we need to pay equal wages to both genders. So this is very clearly defined in the Equal Remuneration Act. So no discrimination to be made while recruiting, even for the recruiting men and women also, there is no distinction. If the nature of work is similar is there. But, meaning the work is similar as ID Act is saying. But mainly same work or work of a similar nature, then there is no distinction in wages to be observed. This is very clearly given in the Equal Remuneration Act. So these three are erstwhile wage-related acts. So payment of bonus or payment of gratuity, all the social security and welfare acts. But these three are primarily wage-related acts under erstwhile. Now the labor codes, as majority of you know, the government India has taken 29 labor laws that's subsuming into 4 codes. If you see code on wages, 4 acts are subsuming, and like these gazette notifications also released. Gazette majority of gazette notification released after getting the consent of both houses, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and presidential consent. Then the gazette will be released. So all these 4 courts gazette is released and waiting for the date of implementation, announcement of date of implementation. And all the states have completed the rules relating to all these 4 labor codes. So in this one is important, one is code on wages, which talks about the codes and bonuses. The 4 acts subsumed to code on wages. We see in the code on wages, the Minimum Wages Act, Payment of Wages Act, Payment of Bonus Act, Equal Remuneration Act. Because Payment of Bonus Act, these were included in the code on wages in the labor codes. So these 4 codes are subsumed now, and a single code on wages may come into effect very soon once the government announces the date of implementation. See, code on wages, the important one here is the definitions, because I will talk little more about the code on wages, because definitely it will come soon, maybe very not in very soon, but it definitely at one point of time these will come into effect. The employee, as per section 2K of the code on wages, is like our factory set 2L, one employee definition. Employee, not an apprentice, without an employed, and wages to do any skilled, semi-skilled or unskilled, manual, operational, supervisory, managerial, administrative, technical or clerical nature of work. Means all the categories of employees excluding apprentices include a person declared to be an employed by the appropriate government and does not member of armed forces. So these are called as an employee. The definition is relevant the same as to the Factors Act section 2L. The wages is common definition is derived. We will talk little more about wage definition in the subsequent slides, because now this the session is more of related to wages. We will talk a little more about the wages in the subsequent slide. So worker means, as per the definitions of worker, ID Act, Industrial Disputes Act, the worker, the wage limit is 10,000. Now here in the as the section 2Z of the code on wages, The worker definition has raised up to 15,000. So here apprentice also excluded, but there in the earlier ID apprentice included. Here means any person except an apprentice employed in any industry to do manual, unskilled, skilled operational, includes working journalists, sales promotion employees. All these people who are called as worker as per the definition, those who are drawing less than 15,000, rather than 15, the most important thing is does not include managerial and administrative personnel and supervisory capacity drawing wages. Here the ID Act, as per the current ID Act also, the worker definition very clearly they will observe whether he is working in a managerial capacity or administrative capacity or supervisory capacity. What is the parameters to observe whether the employee, whether he will come under worker or not? If he has a leave granting authority, and some subordinate staffers are reporting to the X, and the X is doing the appraisals, then he will not be treated as a worker. So if X, if there is a controversy that X designation, whether he will be treated as a worker or not, one is subordinate team. Some teams are reporting to him, and is he having leave granting authority? And is he doing the appraisals of the employees? Then if he is the controlling person of the works of that employees, then he or she will not be treated in spite of, even though she is drawing less than 15,000 or more than 15,000 or 20,000 or whatever it is. The main test for the worker definition is the managerial, administrative and supervisory capacity. So this is one thing we need to be very clearly ensured many times. So we will designate a fancy designations as here are case laws also. Pilots, the pilot who is running the pilot who is piloting the airboats. So he will whether he will come under the workman or not, or any commercial pilots. When there is a discussion that those people don't have any subordinate staff, those people don't have any leave granting authority. If they do, if their salary is higher, lakhs of rupees, they will be treated as a worker. The first and primary important thing is please ensure that their nature of job, subordinate team, leave granting authority, appraisals. So these are the definition. Earlier one is 10,000 under the ID Act. Now it is 15,000 under the Code on Wages Act. So now when coming to the important definition, wage under the Code on Wages includes the Code on Wages 2Y, section 2Y has clearly defined inclusions and exclusions. What are the components? The inclusion, the basic pay, dearness allowance and retaining allowance. Normally retaining allowance will be paid in sugar industries, the seasonal industries. The seasonal industries, once after completion of season, till the start of next season, if they want to retain the employees, they will pay some retaining allowance. Basic DA and retaining allowance must be at least 50% as per the Code on Wages Act. So earlier under the payment of wages, under the payment or minimum wage or Provident Fund Act, there is no clarity. Now they brought that at least 50% to be inclusion. This is the one important point mentioned under section 2Y of the Code on Wages Act. Interpretation, I am just giving the interpretation. 50% of the total remuneration to be counted for basic DA and retaining allowance. However, there is no direct answer to cover special allowance because they are not given. But we need to see if the special allowance, educational allowance, those will come under the exclusion clause. So it is better. It is better to place the basic DA and retaining allowance if you have that component, or otherwise if you have DA, or some companies may have only basic. So 50% to be observed as a basic. So gender discrimination, like Equal Remuneration Act, the gender discrimination clause was as it is. Recruitment, same work, a similar nature of work, there will not be any distinction. So here the one thing is central government will fix the national minimum wage, which will be called as floor wage. Central government will fix the national minimum wage. State governments may also fix the minimum wages, but they shall not be lower than the national minimum wage. Suppose now, because if you see the Sikkim, Nagaland or Northeast states, definitely their minimum wages will be far lower than the central government minimum wages. But now once the code on wages comes into effect, central government will announce national minimum wage, floor minimum wage. Now, and the state government have to mandatorily follow the state minimum central minimum wage or higher than the minimum wage announced by the central government. So this is very one clear. Once the code comes into effect, this provision doesn't there in the earlier minimum wage or payment of wages act. So this we need to ensure the central minimum wage, floor minimum wage. The minimum wage revision was there every 5 years. There's a clearly specified in the code on wages that minimum wages will be revised in every 5 years. In some of the states, they were revised in 2017. In Telangana, they are now taking up different states. They are taking the periodicity at their own will. Now there's a clear under the code on wages. It was clearly defined that the minimum wages prescribed by the central or state have to be revised once in every 5 years. So payment of wages on the day of rest, payment of wages on the day of rest rate not less than overtime wage. Payment day of rest means calling an employee on weekly off day. So currently we are giving COF fellows, many companies are giving COF or else one wage, one time single wage. But it has to be treated as overtime wage, overtime rate. The payment to be run on overtime rate means double the normal wages they have to pay. So wages for OT, like Factors Act, the same is double the normal wage. So payment of wages, this is also allowed electronically or by check is allowed. So wage bill shall not be more than a month. The same thing were there in the Payment of Wages Act. The same were replicated here also. Mandated to pay wages within 7 days from expiry of wages period. Wage period 7 days only, not 10 days. It's only within 7 days we need to pay the wages once the code on wages comes into effect. So wages payable to exited employees. So wages where an employee removed, dismissed, or retrenched, or has resigned from the service, the due wages is due to the closure of establishment. Wages payable to him shall be paid within 2 working days. Within 2 working days, the wages to be paid. So earlier it is only dismissal, but now if he is resigned also, removed, dismissed also, so wages, unpaid wages to be paid within 2 working days. Please note that it is not full and final settlement. It is unpaid wages. The full and final settlement, normally gratuity will come, leave encashment, unpaid leaves will come, all this will come, all has to done in the full and final settlement. Deductions, fines, deductions from absence for duty, LOP will call it a damage or loss of goods, deductions for house accommodation supplied by the employer. All these are allowed, authorized under the code on wages and deductions. So deductions of amenities and services provided by the employer. So recovery of advances and overpayment of salaries, house rent deductions, deductions for payment of cooperative society, PM's National Relief Fund, income tax, provident fund, all these are permissible deductions. So the trade union membership also permissible deductions. So limit on deductions. So if you see earlier it was 75, if the cooperative societies were there in the particular industry, the maximum limit is 75%. But that has restricted to 50% under the code on wages. Recovery. In case where the amount of authorized deductions exceed 50% of the wages, the excess may be recovered by the employer in the manner, because the state government will prescribe. Suppose if the recovery is more than 50% of that particular wage period, how to recover that the balance amount will be prescribed by the state rules. So fine and bonus also opportunity showing fine must be an opportunity before imposing fine. We need to give a show cause notice. We need to give a show cause means why the opportunity of showing the cause again is the fine. Impose any one wage with the same 3%. No, the payment of wages, the fines clauses as it is, it was clearly given in the fine section. The bonus section is only worked at least 30 days in an accounting year under the code. Same currently it is 30 days only. The wage threshold is fixed by the appropriate government. So minimum is 8.33, maximum 20% bonus, set on, set off for first 5 years infancy period. All are same. There are no change in the bonus, Payment of Bonus Act 1965 with the amendment. See, bonus eligibility, I told the bonus, the payment of the same clauses they have given in the bonus eligibility section. So number of working days, an employee should be deemed to have worked and lay off because the 30 days leave wage absent, all are there. Only thing, disqualification or bonus were clearly given earlier. It was moral turpitude, fraud, theft were there. There was no clearly given definition of moral turpitude, but conviction of sexual harassment is also one of the disqualification for bonus as given in the code on wages. So deduction in bonus, financial loss, there is no change in that. So time limit, 8 months from the closure of the accounting year, the same thing. So employer is liable to a bonus 8 points when a dispute referred to industrial dispute. New edition. Here it is new edition. Bonus dispute. Suppose then if any dispute has come on payment of bonus, then employer is liable to pay 8.33. Minimum bonus is 8.33. That 8.33 bonus to be paid to the industrial tribunal till the issue settles. This is the new edition, new clause in the code on wages. Non-applicable bonus time limit for claiming 3 years. Of course, the same clauses, registers and returns, employer to maintain electronic mode is allowed now. Issue of wage slip, these are same clauses were there. The wage slip to be means pay slip to be given to the employees. These were there in the earlier as well as current code on wages also. The maintenance of registers of employees, muster roll, wages and other details are common in the earlier minimum wages act or payment of wages act, and now this was same in the code on wages. But only thing here, another thing is quantum of penalties are substantially increased. Earlier it is 5,000, now it has went to 50,000. So any non-compliances under the code on wages, so it will be initially 50,000. Subsequent, if it repeats up to 1 lakh, also they can impose the fine. So contravention of code or rules 20, second violation, repetition of same 40,000. Because earlier there are 2,000, 5,000 rupees. Now this has substantially increased to 50,000 to 1 lakh. So registers are common, register wages, overtime, fine, deduction, damage or loss. Electronic maintenance is allowed. Previous, if you want to maintain electronically, we need to get the permission from the labor department. Now the act itself is allowing us to maintain these registers, register wages, overtime, fine, deduction for damage or loss is electronically allowed. Once the code comes, it will be a big relief to the employers, to the HR department to maintain the registers. So now we will come to the wage salary compensation part. So normally what is wage? Wage is paid to workers. Those who are paying to workers is considered as wage. Wage represents normally hourly, salary rate refers monthly rate of pay. So normally we will say wage is those who are coming under the minimum wages under the unskilled labor or workers category, it will be called as wage. Another thing is compensation. Normally we used to either the recent origin, cost of company, CTC or compensation we will call, which includes everything an employed. So which includes everything an employed individual receives in return for his work. So incentives are paid in addition to wage and salary. Incentive depends on the individual productivity, sales, profit, cost reduction efforts. The incentive does not guarantee that the employee will mandatorily will get incentive. It will be linked to the individual output of the employee. Now cost to company. So annual CTC, the total money spent, monetary and non-monetary, on engaging an employee during a year. So normally cost to company CTC we will call, which includes gross salary, employer contribution of ESI, employer contribution, PF, bonus, LTA, etc. B is this will include in the CTC non-monetary. Suppose house accommodation, car, driver, servant, club membership. So all these will count because all these are cost to the company. So all these will come under the CTC part. Gross means normally this gross is the amount an employee receives as salary before any deduction. So gross salary means gross salary before deduction they will call it the gross salary. CTC is never equal because general presumption is that while recruiting an employee, if you say that 40,000 is your CTC, the the precision of the newcomer is that 40,000 he will get as his salary, as a take-home pay. No, there is a clear difference between cost to company, gross salary, and CTC. Net or take-home pay, net salaries or take-home pay both are same. So net or take-home pay is the amount employee receives after all applicable deductions. So these three are, I think, very important. Many times people are confusing CTC, gross salary, net salary, or take-home. And another thing is fringe benefits. So fringe, in addition to wages, employee receives certain supplementary benefits is known as fringe benefits. So these, in addition to the wages or salaries, some category of employees will be given for the retainment point of view, or to increase the productivity, individual output. These will be given. So these normally include corporate vacations, holidays, sick leave, discount on company goods and services, and providing a vehicle with a driver. All this will be called as fringe benefits. So statutory fringe benefits of social security. Nowadays, if you see, many companies are offering medical insurance, GPA, group personal accident, or GTLI, group term life insurance. All these are additional benefits given to an employee to take care of his family. And this is mainly to the retainment of, this will help us in retaining the employee. If anything goes wrong, suppose if any accident occurs, if the employee is bedridden for a month, then weekly compensation under the group personal accident, he will get the weekly compensation amount, weekly amount. Like this, whatever the amount incurred to the hospital expenses will be reimbursed through the medical insurance. All these will be additional benefits given to an employee in keeping of two angles. One is retainment point of view, second one is employer branding, as well as individual output, increase of individual output. Some companies have the group is death benevolent fund. So clothes, washing allowance, leave encashment, leave travel allowance, leave travel concession, conveyance, different, because in the name of these are all long service awards. Many things will be perks. The benefits given that some employees enjoy a result of the official position, including company car, club membership, because some senior level people, companies will offer club membership, provided club membership, paid holiday, abroad vacation trip to the family, to international trips, also furnished house, stock option, ESOPs, employee stock option schemes. All these will be perks. So there are clear salary, CTC part of the salary, there fringe benefits, perks. These are retaining, and at the same time to do the individual output, increase the individual output is one important thing here. And another thing is we need to understand difference between reimbursements and incentives. So reimbursement, incentive, these two normally similarly people will understand. And allowance is an amount. Allowance is an amount, okay, given to employees, whether they spend it on. Reimbursement is because medical reimbursement, telephone reimbursement, like another fuel reimbursement. Suppose the company has given a car and fuel reimbursement, newspaper reimbursement. All these are reimbursements, means once the employee incurs in it and company is paying it. But whether incentive, individual output is increased and the group output or certain target is achieved, then all these people will get the incentives. Suppose, for example, the incentive is to sell some X goods in a month. If he is X goods, regularly the concerned employee has to sell in a month, X plus maybe 10% hiked on X if he sells, then his incentive will be some X, some Z amount. All this will be additional incentives. The incentive amount which is linked to individual employee output does not require to pay PF contribution. So general types of salaries, as I told you earlier also, net salary is the take-home pay after deductions of PF, ESI, provision tax, TDS, and LOP. Gross salary, the salary shown in the payslip, means before deductions, what is the monthly gross salary is the gross salary. Cost to company includes monetary and unmonetary benefits, and all this will encompass in the CTC point of view. Notable components of wage structure. The wage structure, normally if you see the wage structure consisting of many components. One and important one is basic, As per the code on wages, basic, normally it is recommendable to maintain basic 50% of the gross salary is to be basic DA. So suppose if the company has the DA component, then please ensure basic and DA and retaining allowance consisting of at least 50%. Why this is normally when we are asking the many thing, when the basic DA normally for any type of provident fund, gratuity, leave encashment, many companies are counting basic. So once you increase the basic, the spiraling effect of basic will be on the increase of provident fund, gratuity, even ESIC, ESI the gross, and leave encashment. So earlier bonus before 2015 amendment we used to count on basic. Now there is no relevance. Minimum 7,000 or minimum is the schedule of employment. So basic, if you have the basic DA and retaining allowance, these three are components. Please ensure that these three consisting of 50% of the gross salary. Okay. Suppose if you have only a component of basic, consider 50. So DA is a dearness allowance introduced the cost of living burden of inflation to be earned to the employees, and governments will announce the CPI points in every 6 months. So or 1 year, depends on the state to state. It will vary from state to, in Tamil Nadu the DA points will announce once in a year. In Andhra and Telangana DA points will announce once in 6 months. So state to state it will vary. So as per the consumer price index announced points, we need to revise the DA. So periodical DA is also a component which has the impact on PF, gratuity, and leave encashment. So house rent allowance. So house rent allowance is HRA. The name suggests is a component that employees can leverage, because if the company is not provided any accommodation, then HRA to begin. The HRA is normally, as per the Income Tax Act, 50% of basic if it is in metro, or non-metro, 40% of basic is allowed in non-metro. The HRA no need to pay PF on the HRA. So house rent allowance is one of the important component with a good higher amount getting after the basic and DA. 50% of basic is the HRA if it is in metro, 40% of basic in HRA if it is in non-metros. So HRA is also one of the important component. So city compensatory allowance. So basing on the city, you can because living in Mumbai is not like the other tier metro cities. So depending on tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, you can fix the CCA. There is no bar on the giving of CCA, but anything should have a rationale. So CCA must be a rationale in CCA. So conveyance allowance. Conveyance allowance is paid to meet the daily commuting charges of an employee from residence to office and office to residence. So recently in the 2000, think last year only, a Texmo Industries case, ESI, the clearly court has given that conveyance allowance doesn't attract ESI. No need to pay ESI on conveyance allowance. So conveyance allowance also you can put a good amount. It depends on if you are saying that from employee residence to factory or office to factory to residence will be conveyance allowance. So medical allowance is also earlier there. Medical allowance is medical expenditure employee. Normally it will be 1500. Earlier it was there. So you can make the medical allowance also one of the component in the wage. Children education allowance, you can pay maximum of 2400 in a year, which is a not taxable income. So washing allowance, if the company is paying, if the company is asking employees to come to wear a uniform, then for the purpose of washing of the uniforms, washing allowance to be paid to employees, which will be a reasonable, rational one. So the ESI does not, washing allowance does not attract ESI. No need to contribute ESI on washing allowance. Allowance. This is the concept where the entire Surya Roshni case has revolved in the, which has given 25/2/2000 Supreme Court has given many industries have changed their annual structure. Special allowance. Normally, we will call special allowance is the balancing figure. So whatever you want to give the CTC or gross salary, after all, after completion of basic DA, CCA, medical allowance or HRA, and after the balancing amount will be given under special allowance. This special allowance will attract PF. So we need to see, we need to ensure the special allowance will be attracted in PF. And suppose if you have any allowance which is directly linked to the individual output of the employee, if you have the policy on that, there is no need to contribute PF on that particular allowance, which has directly relation to the individual output of the employee. So leave travel allowance also, LTA is also one of the important annual component. So LTA, some company they will consider block period. So 1 month salary depends on the company and they will give the LTA. Suppose if the employee has not availed LTA, the amount will be given back to the employee, which is the taxable income. So if they travel within the country, traveling will be exempted from the income tax. The component widely used by the employer due to tax benefits. LTA widely used because of tax benefits associated with it. So what are the travel costs incurred in the LTA? No need to consider under the income tax as a wage. So authorized deduction, general deduction, these three are standard deductions. You all know Provident Fund, 12% of PF wage. PF wage means the once in the next coming slide, I am just going to discuss an important case law on the PF wage. So 12% of wage to be calculated, 12% of the wages. Gross salary excluding HRA and individual output. So does any other salary component which has direct nexus to the individual output of employee. So 12% to be contributed. The employer and the employee both make equal contribution of 12% of both. And in the act, there is clearly given a provision. If an employee's PF wage is less than 15,000, then it is mandatory for Provident Fund to be added. And if it is more than 15,000, suppose the PF wage is 25,000, but PF to be contributed on 15,000 only, this was allowed, this was given a provision in the act. So the PF wage the ceiling, we can fix it as 15,000, means 12% of 15,000 is 1,800 only. So 1,800 only will be the employee contribution, matching contribution by the employer will pay. So 15,000 you can make it. And ESI, Employee State Insurance Act, ESI, it is 21,000. This is the ESI limit as of now currently. So here it is employee's contribution is 0.75%. Suppose one wage component which is paying to an employee quarterly does not require to contribute ESI on that payment, on that wage component. Say for example, you have a component which is paying every monthly, then you need to contribute ESI. Similarly, if you are paying alternative month, means January, March, May, like that, if you are paying, then you need to contribute ESI. Suppose if you are paying once in a quarter, January, next May or April, like that you are paying, then there is no need to contribute ESI on that quarterly payment. If any wage component which is paying in quarterly once does not require to pay ESI on that. Otherwise, so 0.75% is the employee's contribution, 3.25% is the employer contribution. At the same time, if you see washing allowance, conveyance allowance does not attract ESI. So you know, no need to consider the washing allowance and conveyance allowance as ESI wage. So provision tax, it will vary from state to state. In one state, annual payment, quarterly payment, and half yearly payment. In some states, monthly payment is there. As per your respective state, you need to pay provision tax. And TDS is the income tax calculations. You need to deduct TDS from the employee's salary. These are all authorized deductions. Suppose recommendable structure, normally general structure recommendable is once of the code analysis, 50% of basic, DA as the state government notifications, K, HRA 50% of basic if metro and 40% if in metro, city compensation no standard, a reasonable amount to meet the cost of living in the city, conveyance 1,600 maximum that was there earlier, and medical 1,250 per month, Children education allowance 100 rupees per child, subject to maximum of two children. So washing allowance, you provided uniform, a reasonable amount. Special allowance usually as a balancing amounts. See, normal, these are the structures we will see as an annual component. Thus, LTA annual component and PF 12% on PF base and ESIC 3.2% on gross salary, excluding washing conveyance allowance, employee 0.75%, professional tax as per state slabs. Okay, these are generally so important. Just I'm going to touch in a way. Now we are close to 4, another 4:47. In another 10 minutes, I will conclude this amendment part. Then after that, we will take up any question and answer session. So notable, the Payment of Bonus Act, which is one important notification amendment was done in 2015, effective with retrospective effect. Earlier, it was 10,000 is the eligibility limit. After that amendment, that eligibility has raised up to 21,000. So earlier, this important one is calculation part. Earlier calculation part is 3,000 per month. That calculation is if the employee salary exceeds 3,500, the calculation to be done on 3,500 only. Earlier one. But now in the latest in that amendment in 2015, the PF amount that the calculation is linked to exceeds 7,000 per month or minimum wage of the schedule of employment, whichever is higher. Suppose unskilled section 2M, Factories Act section 2M, as per any other manufacturing company, unskilled wage is 10,500. 7,000 or 10,500, whichever is, we need to contribute bonus, we need to calculate bonus on the higher side. But this was challenged and many courts have stalled the retrospective effect, and still it was pending in few of the high courts. Around 13 high courts has given stay order. But majority companies are following this. All the companies, once it has come into Gazette notification, so all the companies are following this 7,000 as schedule or minimum wage schedule of employment, whichever is higher. Please note, minimum wage schedule of employment they have given, but they are not given the skill category. So at least you need to consider unskilled minimum wage. This is a loophole in that. So earlier it was not linked to minimum wage. Now with this amendment, it was linked to minimum wages. So second one is Maternity Benefit Act 1961, because majority people know this was in 2017 was an important amendment. Earlier it was 12 weeks, now it has risen to 26 weeks. So maternity benefit to a commissioning mother, adopting mother also. Earlier it is 6 weeks before and 6 weeks after confinement, after delivery of the child. Now it has 8 weeks before and 18 weeks after the delivery. So anyone is legally adopts a child below the age of 3 months or a commissioning mother entitled for 12 weeks maternity benefit. So earlier it was not there. Commissioning mother, adopting mother also it is allowed in that now. So to facilitate work from home to a mother by inserting an enable provision. Suppose if the nature of employment of the mother is allowed to work from home, it has to facilitate. This was clearly given in the amendment. In case where the nature of work assigned to a woman is such of nature that she may work from home, so then she has to give that mutually. So and common creche facility also to be given in that 50 or more employees, is not women employees. See, there's the amendment clearly speaks that 50 or more employees to have the facility of creche either individually or the shared common facility. 4 visits in a day. In a woman only to feed the baby, and they have to allow the 4 visits in a day to women employees. Common facility also is allowed. Common creche facility also allowed in that. So, and this is one important thing. What I am trying to say is, every establishment shall intimate in writing and electronically to every woman employee at the time of her initial appointment. In the labor laws, 3 laws specifies that the benefits to be communicated to the employee, and they have to get the consent. They have to get the employee consent. One is maternity benefit, another one is prevention of sexual harassment. ICC, existence of IC internal committee, and third one is Employee Compensation Act. So employer has to communicate in advance to the newcomer about the facilities available under these 3 acts, and he can record in your, because this definitely it has to come. One is maternity benefit. The amendment clearly says that every establishment shall intimate in writing and electronically to every woman employee at the time of her initial appointment about the benefits available under the Act. So, prevention of sexual harassment and maternity benefit and Employee Compensation Act mandates the employer to brief the benefits to the newcomer at the time of joining. So one is important landmark judgment in PF Provident Fund case, Surya Roshni, majority people don't know, Surya Roshni case, the judgment is delivered in 28/2/2019, where previously before the judgment, when all the employers under the presumption that the PF wage is basic DA retaining allowance only. Basic and DA we are now contributing on PF. When the special allowance or any other allowances, normally we will say the many allowance, conveyance, fixed conveyance allowance. All this we are now bifurcating and paying. But this Surya Roshni case, Supreme Court has clearly given excluding HRA and any allowance which has direct impact on the individual output of the employee is to be exempted from the PF. Rest all are to be considered as PF wage. Means if your salary structure or page common consists of basic DA, HRA, CCA, medical allowance, or conveyance allowance, special allowance. Say for example, I'm saying 6 components: basic DA, HRA, CCA, medical, special allowance. In this, only HRA to be exempted, and if you have any this special allowance individually directly linked to the individual output of the employee, then it has to be exempted. Rest all amount to be considered as basic wage under the Provident Fund and PF to be contributed on that amount. So if you are paying conveyance allowance as a fixed amount of percentage of salary or else fixed amount to each and every employee, irrespective of that, then you need to contribute is a common allowance, and to lessen the burden of employer on the PF, so we need to contribute the PF on that. This is the Act judgment says. So after this judgment comes, many employers in the PF department insisted many employers to contribute PF on total gross salary minus HRA minus any allowance which has individual output of the employee. So another thing is, though I think I could see that majority are IT and other related BOC, Building and Other Construction Workers Cess Act. Under this Act, 1% of the total cost, 1% of the project cost to be considered as cost of 1% of cost of construction to be paid as cess. The cost of construction, what they have given, material, building material, all other equipment also they have given in that. So in one of the judgments, the Supreme Court has clearly given, if the agreement between the employer and other contractors, clearly there is a material agreement, manpower agreement, and there is clear differentiated in the agreements, only on the manpower only we need to consider. Means building and infrastructure, suppose computer equipment, there is a medical facility, labs, and equipment provided in the medical labs, all this to be excluded if you have the clear agreement in that. So this is 1% of construction cost with a huge amount. Suppose if the project cost is 100 crores, then 1 crore to be paid to the department as it says. So if you out of 100 crores, if you have clearly bifurcated what will be the equipment cost, what is the construction cost, what is the manpower cost, so what are the building material cost, then you will be saved a good amount to the company as a under the VOCW. So after this judgment, the many companies are making bifurcating the agreements clearly, and the manpower and construction only, construction cost, not material, construction cost and manpower only we need to contribute 1% as cess. So this is the the judgment, Uttar Pradesh Power Transmission Corporation and other, the clear judgment. Once I will share to you the presentation, you can go through this judgment. So, and the very recent judgment of Supreme Court, as I told, G4S Security Services, PF contribution not on minimum wages. Earlier, the PF department is also insisting that the PF to be contributed at least on minimum wage. There are kind of judgments. If the employer is paying over and above PF wage, there is no need to contribute PF on minimum wage. There are many judgments, Air Freight of Karnataka, State of Karnataka Air Freight, and many people are there. Now with this G4S security judgment delivered by Supreme Court in 17/8/2023, it's very clear that there is no need to pay PF on minimum wages. The only thing is provident fund to be contributed on once the code and wages comes into those three allowances. Otherwise, the PF to be contributed, the total gross minus HRA minus individual output of any employee. So these are PF, because the PF is main thing. Many people might be confusing on the PF amounts. So currently the PF is, please consider your total gross salary of an employee minus HRA minus individual minus any allowance which has direct impact on the individual output of an employee. Then you can exempt those and you can contribute PF. Even because here in this case, if you go in detail into the case, conveyance, washing allowance, many allowances the PF department insisting to pay on PF. So considering the case, the G4S Security Services case, the Supreme Court upheld the decision of Punjab and Haryana High Court decision, and only thing we need to consider as per the till the code on wages comes into operation, we need to consider the PF Act only, 1952 PF Act only. Basing on that, see the wage and definition under the PF Act and coupled with the Suryoshni case judgment, please contribute 12% of PF on PF wage. Normally, we will take too much period. We know that practically because we need to take final due clearances from many departments. But the act, once the code on wages comes, at least we need to accelerate our processes, and we need to ensure that the settlement to be done on the second working day after termination after the cessation of the employment. But we need to see our systems to be geared up early. Only unpaid wage you can calculate how many days he presented in the last month, last drawn salary last month. You need to calculate and pay. PM gratuity anyway, they have 30 days window period for gratuity, so you can pay gratuity within the window period of 30 days. While negotiating salary, with my experience, I'm just sharing because many fraternity team are here. Yeah. While negotiating, it's always better. You see what are the benefits he or she will get if he join in your company. Annual benefits or monthly components or all this. Please ensure elaborate them. CTC did not say that divided by 12 is the take home pay salary, take home pay. Many newcomers will be under the presumption. So divided by 12, suppose 6 lakh CTC divided by 12, 50,000 will not be the take home pay. Please ensure that as the deductions also explain them. Take a CTC sheet and you can take the signature of the employee. I will show you a template, CTC template also. Take home pay, CTC and take home pay. Normally we will see this. That was customized template. The way we will go little more elaborate. Bonus also, how much bonus, gratuity. If you are adding gratuity component as in the CTC, some companies, majority companies will not add gratuity component in the part of CTC, but some companies may add it. So it is always a debatable. So you need to add it and annual components as well as take home pay salary also. Here is the simple concept I'm saying, basic 50% of the gross. HRA, we don't have, suppose here in the company don't have DA component. So HRA 40% of basic, conveyance fixed, medical fixed, special elements balance. So here bonus is 8.33% of minimum wage of the schedule of employment. So minimum wage of the schedule of employment is 10,348. Then 8.33% of that amount gratuity. Anyway, we know that 15 days of last drawn salary, last drawn basic 20,000 divided by 26 into 15. So gratuity, performance pay, and the contributions also. Employer contribution 13% because administrative charges and inspection charges also added. Employer contribution, employee contributions, tax, and take home pay. Better get the signature at the time of finalization of the offer itself. If you get the signature, tomorrow it will not be an embarrassing to the employee as well as to the company. So employee may say, no, I think it's divided by 12 is my take home pay. You can say other deductions are standard deductions. So better to take the signature of it because you need to divide a small template like this. Once you enter the CTC part, automatically calculations will done on its own, and you can get the signature of that. That will be 50-50. Once you are in higher basic employer point of view, I will share you both point of view.
Yes,
Suppose
sir.
if the employer point of view, if you are giving higher basic, okay, it will impact employer on the annual components retirement benefits. Gratuity will be calculated on the last drawn basic. Okay, basic and DA. Okay, like the higher payout will be there. Like
Okay.
leave encashment will be higher, payout will be there. Okay, like that once you increase the basic amount, whatever higher you put, the payout of retirable benefits will be higher. So the act is allowed 50%. Please consider it as 50% only. If you don't have any other component of DA and retaining allowance, consider 50%. The other side, employee point of view, while it comes to employee point of view, if you are increasing basic, the contributions to PF will be higher and the take home pay will be little lesser. The current generation Z, what the normal people expectation is higher take home pay. Nobody bothers about after the 5 years, after the 10 years, how much we will get. Lump
Yes.
sum amount or huge amounts. So, my end of the month, what will be my take home pay? It counts. So better don't go beyond 50% as a basic DA. So you can restrict other allowances to 50%. Basic to 50% will be an ideal composition from the both point of view, employer as well as employee point.